Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, dear Chairman, dear Dr. Wies, for the invitation to this exciting session. I have no disclosures. So when this all started 3 years ago, it looked like a rise and fall of paclitaxel procedures. Actually, the paclitaxel papers dominated the discussions in our community for more than 3 years now. And as we have most recently heard by Dr. Katsanos, a possible harm signal was found in original trial data. But for me, still the main question is, was it replicable in real-world data? Let me say it this way, it is what it is. Exclusion is not a bug, it's a feature of trials. However, the inherent selection bias certainly limits the usability of trial data for quality improvement. We have a problem with missing data, and this is the Achilles heel of any research, including both interventional and observational research. And then there is this mystery of inalienable excluded patients, and that's a data treasure for me. So we are in between the real world and the trial world here. Here's what happened in the past 15 years in Germany. There was indeed a widespread of paclitaxel exposure in interventions, counting for approximately 40,000 procedures per year in 2021. So there was no decline, and this was accounting for approximately 50% of all lower extremity PAD interventions. However, interestingly, a large proportion of these procedures was registered by very few key opinion leaders, aka trial centers. So to get a better insight into the nationwide, less selected treatment reality, we used German claims data from the BAMA cohort and applied robust propensity score matching on a very homogeneous cohort of patients with index treatment of symptomatic lower extremity PAD. In all the publications that we issued, we were not able to replicate any harm signal whatsoever in German claims data, and this was valid neither for above the knee nor below the knee procedures, and although this is still unpublished data, included also amputation endpoints. So this makes me very proud. The analysis and the comprehensive sensitivity analysis supported the updated FDA decision that you are all well known of. So what does this all mean? I think the analogy of a pendulum of evidence fits very well here. I think that all patients are ultimately different, and so are their data, and you will hear more about other observational studies in this session. To dive deeper into that topic, we tried to find more differences and possible explanations, and actually trial cohorts differed significantly from nationwide claims cohorts, the so-called real world. We included more women and less often diabetes than in trials, for instance. And in interaction analysis, mortality differences were almost completely accountable to women who were treated above the knee, and there was an interesting modifying role of optimal pharmacological treatment, namely statin prescriptions. So here's an approach to explain this better. Trials tend to exclude women, in my eyes, who may benefit from better optimal pharmacological treatment after paclitaxel exposure, but only in the real world. So this is what I mean with a data treasure. And this is actually not a new observation. There is a difference, and I think a striking difference, between research centers, trial centers, and nationwide, less selected reality. You may know these three publications. Trials tend to include less women, with 20 to 25%, than in less selected registries, nationwide registries that actually include 40 to 50% women. And the question is why? And this is not only happening in the PAD field, but also in the carotid field. Maybe you have read the most recently published claims analysis on carotid treatment. We observed much higher death and stroke rates than in trials after 1 year. And you may know the Popplewell paper. It's a prospective single-center validation study of the Basel II trial, and actually only 4% of the total cohort were included and randomized to Basel II. So what does this all mean in the future? Let me conclude, please. We must improve the quality of methods, data, and reporting, because we are increasingly using these data for AI models. And you all know the principle of garbage in, garbage out. The validity of training data is vital. Back to the paclitaxel question, I think there was no excess mortality whatsoever in patients who were exposed to paclitaxel. Women, however, were still underrepresented and disadvantaged in terms of optimal pharmacological treatment, and many of these considerations were also included in the most recently published new guideline on PAD. Thank you very much.